Hello everybody! It is officially December, which means I am getting into the holiday spirit, and I wanted to transform a build into a Christmassy paradise. It's my favorite time of year for decorating, so that's what we're going to do to this build. The first thing we're going to do is get rid of all of this greenery. It needs to be snowing, of course. I personally am from Canada, so I love a white Christmas. So we're just going to replace all of our grass, cover it in snow. We're going to use the replace over command to cover the trees and the bushes. And of course, the roofs also need a nice layer of snow on them. Now that everything is nice and cold, our fountain over here with the flowing water in it, I think that needs some ice, don't you? So we're just going to take all of the streams here and turn them into ice. And I even use some packed ice down in the bottom there just to add a little bit more detail to it, and I really like the way that looks. I think it's time to build a snowman now. We've got some snow on the ground. We're going to build the first of what will be 4 snowmen in this build. And he gets some nice outstretched arms, a nice carrot nose, and we're going to be using some heads for the eyes and topping him off with a nice little top hat to keep him warm. This guy is kind of like the father snowman. Now that he's done, we're going to take some garland and just put it around the feet of our statue here. I'm using a spear command for this with a radius of 1 and then just going through by hand and kind of roughing it up, adding in some air blocks and just shaping it the way that I want it. I really like the way that this decoration looks, although it is very simple. It doesn't take away from the building, but it definitely adds that little bit of holiday spirit to it. After that's done, I'm going to start on a wreath. And I just use the sphere command again around in a circle, adding in some glass blocks for detail and topping it off with a nice red ribbon. And I just love the way that that looks over that archway. It fits in so nicely. Once that is done, we're going to move on to our trees here. And I'm going to be using some brick slabs for these, just spiraling those around so that they look like some ribbons, and then adding in some glazed terracotta for our Christmas decorations. We're going to flip that over so that we have the same on all 4 trees. And now it's time to add in some candy. So we get some candy cane pillars over here. And now in front of our mansion, we're going to be adding in some candy canes full on right in front of this. And I love the effect that this gives when you're walking up the stairs to the mansion. It just looks so good. Now we're going to be adding some more garland to this stairway and of course to the railing. And we're using some heads for the berries in this as well. Gives a nice little pop of red. Now, for the mansion, I wanted to do some Christmas decorations that didn't take away from the building too much. So I decided to do some candles in front of these windows. Just nice, simplistic. I used some smooth sandstone for that. Getting them surrounded with some bushes so that we keep our theme. And that's just such a nice little simplistic design for this mansion. Going around the roof, we're going to be adding some garland. I originally wanted to do some colorful lights, but I decided to keep with our theme and do with red and gold. And I like the way that turned out. I did it on every edge all the way around, and it just kind of brings the whole thing together, keeps our theme fluent throughout. Alright, so while we were working on our house, our snowman over here got a little cold, so we're going to be giving him a scarf. Very classy, very classy. And now we are moving on to a massive Christmas tree as our centerpiece to this kind of mansion garden. So I start off with some spheres and bring them up in a straight line to kind of decide my height. And then I just start smoothing that out, getting the shape that I want, obviously a lot thicker on the bottom than the top. Once I'm happy with that, I replace all of my gold and start on the branches. And for these branches, I'm using gold blocks, and I'm just going to be dragging them out and kind of giving them a nice curved shape, curved up at the ends, just like on a real Christmas tree, or at least on the Christmas trees that I use. And I just love the way that these branches really help you out when you're building. Obviously, when you're doing a smaller tree, you tend to just use leaves, but I think adding in the branches on a bigger tree really gives that extra effect of realism, and it also gives you a nice platform to build your leaves off of, and it just makes your job a lot easier overall. This is definitely a good spot to use the curve command that I showed off in the last video. But I did not do that. It was really early in the morning, I didn't have my brain screwed on right yet, and I just wanted to do some building by hand. Sometimes I get like that. So that is what I did. And I quite like the way that this Christmas tree turned out. Not too many branches and leaves, I think just enough. Now, once we've got all of that done, we're going to add in some decorations. And this is where things really start to get fun because we have so many new blocks in 1.12. So we could use concrete and glazed terracotta and regular terracotta and stained glass and just everything. We're going to be getting a bunch of different shapes and designs. None of them are the same. Personally, on my Christmas tree at home, we don't do any of those like themed, like all gold or all silver. We just have a bunch of ornaments that are all kind of meaningful to us, and we put them all on, and it's all crazy and colorful and not themed at all. And I think that that's just what I wanted to go for here, because that's what's special to me. So I quite like the way this turned out. We've got some that look like icicles, some that look like snowflakes, just everything. And once we've got all of our ornaments on that we could possibly want, we are going to top off this tree with a star right on the top for the finishing touch. Once the star is on, we're going to add a nice tree skirt down here and start putting in some presents to give to our friends. I, again, went a little crazy with the blocks on this one. You can see I even used melon. You can use literally any block you want. You can even use sponge if you wanted to. Actually, now that I think of it, I probably should have used sponge. Yeah, probably. Anyways, I'm just stacking up a lot of different presents here, trying to get lots of different shapes and sizes and wrapping them in ribbon. And they really finish off the Christmas tree quite nicely, in my opinion. Now that our Christmas tree is in, we're going to turn our attention back to the mansion and just add a little bit more garland. You can see I'm kind of jumping around a bit here because once I'm kind of done in one area, I'll move on to another one, and then maybe I'll get re-inspired for the next area, so I'll start on there again. And that's kind of how my building process goes. So now our father snowman across the way needs 2 children over here who are going to be playing. So we're building 2 little snowmen here, kind of getting the balls kind of stacked a little unevenly, and then we're giving them some arms just to give them kind of a personality, and they're going to be holding up a snowflake. Got their little faces and of course hats and scarves for both of them. And then they need a mother snowman. Now the mother snowman was a little bit upset with me because I didn't decorate these trees back here, so she took it upon herself to take some decorations and start decorating them herself. And I of course gave her a hat and a nice cloak to go around. And she's got pretty much the same face and structure as the rest of her family. I just love the way that these snowmen came out. They really add some personality to the build. And just give it that like cheesy Christmassy. It doesn't have to be all classy and fancy, even though this is a mansion. We're going to do some funny, cool stuff. And now that that is done, we are just going to add some finishing touches to the mansion, which is some spirally garland on these pillars. And then it is done. I hope you guys liked this build and maybe were a little bit inspired to decorate some of your own builds for the holiday season. That is it for this video. I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye.